Macmillan Audio presents The School of Night by Louis Bayard. Read for you by Robert Petkoff. Prologue. 3 or 4 times a week it comes. Not a dream. Closer to a vision, apart from her, but obscurely meant for her too. And each time the vision converges on a man, working late into the evening, streaks of sweat across his brow and neck, his head bowed in prayer, she thinks, except she has never heard a prayer quite like this. Ex nihilo. Lapis stones clatter in a copper pan. Nihil. Beneath the copper, a tallow flame crackles into life. Fit. A pewter mist billows up, then resolves into a powder. The air grows heavy with current. The man thrusts up his hands and roars. 4 centuries later, she can still hear him. Long live the School of Night! Part 1. 3 new marriages here are made, one of the staff and sea astrolabe, of the sun and star is another, which now agree like sister and brother, and chart and compass which were at bait, will now agree like a master and mate. Thomas Harriot, 3 Sea Marriages. Washington, D.C., September 2009. Chapter 1. Against all odds, against my own wishes, this is a love story. And it began, of all places, at Alonzo Wax's funeral. Now, I'd known Alonzo pretty much all my adult life, but in the months after his death I learned a surprising number of things about him. For instance, he chased his morning shots of Grey Goose with Rocky Road. He had never read a word of Alexander Pope. Too modern, but he followed every single comic strip in the Washington Post, even Family Circus. He was a sneak, and a liar, and a thief, and would have slain every grandmother he had for an original edition of Bussy d'Amboise. And he loved me. But in those early months of mourning, or whatever it was we were doing about Alonzo, the biggest surprise was this. He had become Catholic, and had never gotten around to telling his parents, loosely observant Rockville Jews who found the baptism certificate while sorting through his filing cabinets. After some family debate, Alonzo's sister Shayla began shaking the trees for priests until a friend told her that suicide was a mortal sin for the church. So she opted to hold the memorial service at the Folger Shakespeare Library, which, in addition to being marble, was home to the world's largest collection of printed Shakespearean works and to a small mountain of preserved and catalogued Elizabethan. The Folger, in other words, was engaged in roughly the same business as Alonzo had been, ransacking boxes and chests for centuries-old documents that were, in most cases, considered highly disposable by the original writers. Shayla was glad to have missed the incense, but something else struck her as she stood greeting mourners at the entrance to the great hall. "Henry," she whispered, "I forgot. I hate lutes." It could have been worse, I reminded her. The last memorial service I'd attended at the Folger was for a Buddhist restaurateur, and we were subjected to an hour of Tibetan music, finger cymbals and skull drums, and glowering over everything, a massively built throat singer, swaddled in goatskin, belching up chord after chord. "And besides," I added, "the lute quartet was your idea. I thought maybe they'd bring a viol, or an hautboy. That's how it works. An Elizabethan collector dies, out come the lutes." More than lutes, significant people had come to pay respects to Alonzo, and here and there, framed by long swords and halberds, one could make out the graven profiles of...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?